Hi there, welcome to the world of stories. Now, the world of stories itself is very fascinating in a way. You get transported from one world to another. For example, have you read Alice in Wonderland or the Harry Potter series? They take you to a different world, right? Well, this time I am also going to tell you about this amazing world where days were meant for sleeping and nights for working in the story In the Kingdom of Fools by A.K. Ramanujan. But before I tell you more about it, let me introduce you to its writer. A.K. Ramanujan was born in Mysore. He made his mark first as an Indian English poet in the mid-1960s. Later, he won enduring fame in India and abroad for his translations of classical Tamil poetry and later of Bhakti poetry in Tamil and Kannada. Ramanujan contributed to a range of disciplines, including linguistic and cultural studies. While Ramanujan taught at the University of Chicago, he helped develop the South Asian Studies program. In 1976, the Indian government honored him with the title Padma Shri, the fourth highest civilian award in the country. Ramanujan also holds a MacArthur Fellowship. The A.K. Ramanujan Book Prize for Translation is awarded by the South Asia Council of the Association in honor of his contributions to the field. Now, this story, In the Kingdom of Fools, is a Kannada folk tale taken from A.K. Ramanujan's Folk Tales from India. It is about a utopian world that tells us how delusional life can be. So let's read the story to find out what the author wants to convey. In the Kingdom of Fools by A.K. Ramanujan. In the Kingdom of Fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. They didn't want to run things like other kings, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields and run their businesses only after dark and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same. A single daddu, whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a daddu. The guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. When they had cooked and eaten, the guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. "This is no place for us. Let's go," he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good, cheap food. The guru said, "They are all fools. This won't last very long and you can't tell what they'll do to you next." But the disciple wouldn't listen to the guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The guru finally gave up and said, "Do what you want. I'm going," and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street-side sacred bull. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in, and as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice." The king said, "Justice will be done, don't worry," and at once summoned the owner of the house. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him. "What is your name?" "Such and such, your highness." "Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him." The accused pleads guilty. "Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you." "Lord," said the helpless merchant, "I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him." "Who is that?" "My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He's an old man now. He lives nearby." The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him, tied hand and foot. This indeed looks like a kingdom of fools. Who otherwise sells everything for a rupee and holds a trial for the death of a thief? And before we read further, let us analyze the details in this part of the story. Now, in this particular kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were absolutely foolish. As they wanted to be different from the other kings, they made strange changes to the laws of the land. To begin with, they decided to change night into day and day into night. Under this law, they ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields and run their businesses only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. And anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. Obviously, people feared their lives and did as they were told. The foolish king and the minister were delighted, thinking that their project was a success. One day it so happened that a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. They were surprised to see that even in broad daylight, there were no people around. Everyone was fast asleep, so much so that even the cattle were found sleeping by the day. Naturally amazed, the guru and his disciple wandered around the town till evening, and that's when the people woke up and began their chores and businesses. And if that was not enough, stranger things awaited the visitors. Now, after wandering about the entire day, the two men were hungry. And now that all the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. And guess what they discovered? They found that everything in the town had the same value. Whether it was a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost just a daddu. What do you think? Will justice be finally done? I am as eager as you to know that. But before we read any further, let's understand the interesting word meanings from this part of the story. So let's begin with the word till, which means to raise crops by plowing and fertilizing. Next, we have the word delighted, which means to feel or show great pleasure. Then the word disciple means a follower or pupil of a teacher, leader, or philosopher. The next word, wandered, means to roam about aimlessly. Now, daddu refers to a coin of the value of 4 or 2 annas. I hope the word meanings will give you a better understanding of this part of the story. TutorMate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.